Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to give you another guide to IL, a pretty short, sweet and simple one for you. I'm going to be talking about siege fleets. So, siege is one of the more simple things in the game. This video is going to be quite short for you and get straight to the point. It is one of those mechanics where you can pretty much just look at the number on your ship and be like, yep, that's pretty good, or nah, that's going to not cut it. But the trick to making an effective siege fleet is to not overinvest. Most dedicated siege fleets are quite small, only using a handful of ships, and most of the time it could be completely destroyed and you would recover it within an hour or two. So without further ado, let's get into it. So first up, I'm going to tell you a few of the things that you want to be looking for when designing your siege fleet. And then after that, I'll just take you through a few formulas, that you can use as a backbone or a guide when you design your own siege fleets, or even for just some ideas for you to go off and design your own fleets with whatever you've got. So, most of you will know the Manubium and the Noma. They're fairly easy to get, they're frigates, and they're dedicated to siege. If you're looking at frigates, you want at least 1,000 siege damage base if you're going to incorporate it into a siege fleet. The Noma does more siege damage than the Manubium, but it costs 2 more CP. You also want your siege fleets to be quite low in command point cost. You don't want them taking up all of the points that you're going to be using in your PvP or PvE combat fleets. They're quite cheap. Aircraft, same thing, you want at least 1,000 damage because aircraft are meant to, well, they're not really very great for siege. They are much better off in your combat fleets, destroying ships because that's what they're best at. But, like Cellar Defenders, which isn't on this account, nor is my Vitus B Plasma Bomber, but those can do some pretty good siege damage. But for the most part, you don't really want to be using aircraft unless it's like the Balancer Andersons or the SCU, the SC002, the jamming ones, because you can increase their evasion to the nanas and also in their armor. I know the SCU has it, I'm not sure if this does. Yes, you can reduce the chance of being hit by direct fire weapons, which is the only weapons that outposts and platforms and bases have. So these can tank because they like to shoot aircraft before they shoot fighters. So you can probably put a few of those aircraft in with some Ceres or something to keep them topped up, and that will keep your fleet running for a long time if you don't have much else in the way of tank and then healer. You'll see soon most of the formulas that I'll give you revolve around having a frigate for a tank, a few healers to keep them topped up, and then some siege ships. That's pretty much all you need. For destroyers, you do want a fair bit of siege damage because they are slower, but you don't really get a whole lot of siege damage out of most destroyers anyway. Winged Hussar is about the best you get in most cases, but destroyers can go up to the 9s. Low levels, Winged Hussar is quite good at being in siege fleets, also because they're fast. One of the main things that you want with siege is speed. You want speed and for it to be super cheap. Cruisers, if you're going to use cruisers, use Siege IO, but any will do, I suppose. And battle cruisers are just slow, but they will all do it. Anything from cruiser up, it doesn't really matter all too much. But most fleets are going to be fast so that you can destroy your target before the enemy responds. It's not really much to it. Just press on the blueprint, look at the numbers. If they are good compared to what other options you have, use it. If not, don't use it. For tanking, Ruby Defensive, FG300 Armored, and Carillions, Recon or Special, which I still don't have, they will all cut the butter for you and do quite well. particularly FG300 armored with like just a handful of healers, because it's only 3 CP and you're not really going to use it for anything else, whereas your Carillions and Rubies might be in your combat fleets. I'm pretty sure that's pretty much all you really need to know. Keep it fast, simple, and cheap, and I will take you through a few list ideas so that you can get sieging. So here we are. I've made a little bit of a brainstorm for you. You can take a screenshot or have a look at this if you want while I yabber on. But these are just a few basic and fairly common formulas that you can use, and I'll go through them super quick for you. Fast and expendable, just grab a few frigate tanks, whether it's FG300s, Carillion Recons, or specials if you can pay the luxury for that and not use them in your combat fleets, or defensive rubies. Same go with the Carillions. 20 siege frigates, these are Nomas and Manubians of course, and you can add more. This fleet will suffer quite a few losses, but you will have them back without much resource or time expenditure anyway. So yeah, send them out and they'll pretty much just suicide bomb your target, and usually destroy 1, maybe 2 outposts or mining platforms. Fast and durable, this is pseudo version. If you can invest a little bit more, have 10 frigate tanks, doesn't really matter what they are, any frigate option in the front row is good. Grab all of your siege frigates, and then have a handful of healers. Grab Nomas if you can, because they're fast and cheap, or Ceres if you can afford that and you have them. Both of these are variants and they're not particularly easy to get, so don't worry if you don't have those, but if you do, they are your prime choices. And do note that Ceres is faster than the Noma by 50 units of cruise speed. So if you're going all out speed, the Ceres is a little bit faster than the Noma, but the Noma is still 800, which is pretty much the speed of most other frigates anyway, so don't worry too much about that. The Guardian is the slowest. Stay away from that one if you can, but it's not the worst. If that's your only healer, go for it. But the Tundra is slightly better in this situation because it's a little bit faster and speed is what you need. You can add a handful of aircraft, like I said near the start, maybe some of those tankier ones, or if you just want to add a little bit of siege because for some mad reason you're not using them in your combat fleets, go for it. And then you can add more frigates or destroyers if they're not slower than your healers. So if your healer is at 800, then don't put in like a Taurus that is 650. You want to keep it as fast as humanly possible so that you can, take out your targets before the enemy can respond, and then fly off to your next one before they can catch up with you. The healers just keep you going so that you can, take out multiple targets, and you want your frigates and any destroyers that you have to have maximum siege damage as possible, but also don't really use anything that you would prefer to have in your combat fleets if you have intentions of using those combat fleets. IO, pretty much just throw 4 siege IO together and you're good to go. They'll take out a few things and you will be able to have some repairs when they get back. This is a little bit slower, but they're some of the faster cruisers, I believe. So yeah. But you can use normal IOs if you want to, that's perfectly fine, but Siege IO is very good at its job. And you can add some healers to keep them going for extra long, but AP is a thing too, and these have quite a chunk of HP and tankiness because Siege IOs are still front row. And then there's the Invincible Hunter. I called it this because it's kind of funny. This does take an absolutely tremendous amount of time to siege. Go 1 ruby defensive and a few healers, and you can pretty much send it at something that you don't think is, that you are very confident is not going to have resistance coming, and it will take like an hour or so to kill it, but you've invested 3 ships. Do not add aircraft, otherwise they will start being shot and you're not really doing any damage to destroy it before it whittles down your aircraft. And you can add more siege craft to, speed up the process. But you really don't need much, like even just adding 10 siege frigates in with like 1 or 2 Ruby defensive and a handful of healers, and you can go and take out a thing. And as long as you are fairly confident or are able to keep an eye out, it's pretty much just invest like 15 odd ships and, you know, therefore not much command or resources, and you can go and take out enemy mining platforms and stuff and start harassing them. So I hope that helps. It gives a brief overview. Siege, as I said, is one of the much easier things to work out. Pretty much just speed, agility, keeping it simple, and if you lose your siege fleet, well, you know, you didn't really lose much in the end. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know if you have any more questions, and please join me on Discord. I'll post a link to that in the description below for you. I am open to any suggestions or ideas, so please let me know, and I will see you next time. Catch ya!